This is the City of God podcast, where Christ meets culture. And welcome to the City of God podcast, where we are weekly talking about today's biggest cultural issues, all through the lens of God's infallible word. My name is Pastor Rob Pacienza, and today we have a very special episode, and this episode in particular really hits close to home. Hits close to home for me personally, emotionally, and spiritually. We're going to be talking to both Jameson Reeder Sr. and Jameson Reeder Jr. Because Jameson wrote a new book called Rescue at the Reef. And this isn't just any book. I had the privilege of writing the foreword of this book, but this book, written by Jameson Sr. about his son, Jameson Jr., is something that I believe is relevant for every single person, because every single person, whether they're a believer or not in Jesus Christ, has always faced suffering. They've always faced some type of trial in their life. They faced an obstacle in which their faith has been challenged. And it's challenged their faith in causing them to dig deeper into their relationship with Christ, or maybe it's caused them to enter into a relationship with Christ. And so we're going to have the opportunity to talk about Jameson Jr.'s real life story and testimony of God using a challenge and a trial in his life to bless the larger community, to bring glory to God, and to talk about how God continues to use this milestone of trial to strengthen his faith, but also to strengthen the faith of millions and millions of others. Jameson Sr., the father of Jameson Jr., talks about Rescue at the Reef being far more than just a survival story, but he calls it a Trojan horse for truth. This is what he wrote. He says, it's a powerful gospel conversation tool, a story that enters through the gates of pain, trauma, and curiosity, but leads people into a deeper hope about the truth of Jesus Christ. It's for people that maybe won't come to church, but for people that are maybe on the outside looking in, saying, you know, Sunday morning service is not for me, maybe your Bible camp's not for me, or your conference is not for me, but it's somebody that maybe is in your life today that is facing trauma, that's facing a trial, but this story of Rescue at the Reef can be used to actually bring them into a deeper conversation and ultimately into a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ. It's a book that is breaking through the walls of emotional, cultural, and spiritual challenges because it doesn't just start with preaching. It actually starts with presence. And so whether you're a parent or a pastor or just a layperson that's dealing with your own personal mess or trial, Rescue at the Reef is for you. So let's dive into this conversation. And first, I want to welcome my very good friends, Jameson Reeder Sr. and Jameson Reeder Jr. Welcome to the City of God podcast.
Man, we're so happy to be here.
Jameson Jr., this is an incredible opportunity for you this day to share on the City of God podcast your story and how this story led into more than just a book. I can't emphasize enough. This is a movement. This is a ministry of blessing others inside the church and outside of the church. And let me just say, you're more than just guests on the City of God podcast. You guys are lifelong friends. Yeah. Jameson, we grew up together. Yeah, man. We have lived life together. We have wept together, and we have grieved together. God has brought us together through trial and through pain. We've suffered pain personally as a family. You have certainly suffered it as a family as well. And isn't it amazing how God uses our trials and our obstacles to bring us together, to bring those, I call them valley moments, those moments in the valley of the shadow of death, to bring us together to share our stories. So walk us through, Jameson, the premise behind the book, Rescue at the Reef. For those that maybe haven't followed the story, the story has been well documented beyond the book. You guys have been on television, on social media, but bring us up to speed. What happened on that day on the reef concerning your son, Jameson Jr.
Yeah, man. So almost 3 years ago, 2022, August 13th, it was an absolutely perfect day. We were in the lower Florida Keys, not far from Key West, and the weather was just perfect for us to be able to head 9 miles offshore to one of the most dove reefs in the state of Florida. One of the reefs that I started diving at a young age, growing up here in Fort Lauderdale, and saw my first shark at that same reef, actually. So although it's 9 miles offshore, it's the most dove reef. There's people everywhere. Got out to the reef, kind of described the day like going on Black Friday to like your favorite mall, and you're just looping around the parking lot waiting for a parking spot to open. You have to wait for a mooring ball to become available. And there were so many people last weekend before school started. It was a beautiful Saturday, and we finally found a mooring ball to anchor up to and tied off the bow line and had a safety talk, and we jumped in. We dove in as a family of 6. It was just a thrilling experience. Crystal clear Caribbean water and just hundreds of species of marine life. And it was just a perfect day. We were on the inside part of the reef where it's only 8 feet deep. So it was almost like a swimming pool. And it was just that ideal. And as we began to swim and see everything, we got out of the water, back on the boat to have lunch. And while we were having lunch, a turtle surfaces right next to the boat. And what did you say to me when we were having lunch, son?
And I said, Dad, can I go grab the GoPro and can I go follow it?
I was like, let's go, man. Let's dive in. So he and I dove in with my youngest at the time, little Nehemiah, who was 3. Jameson Jr. was 10. And as he's following this turtle's like swimming up to him. And I'm like, whoa, that's incredible. They were having it was like a spiritual moment. And I was with little Nehemiah making sure that he wasn't going to kind of splash and spook that turtle off for him to capture the footage with this turtle. And I was just like, man, I hope that GoPro is recording because this is going to be incredible footage.
So you're on the boat.
No, I'm in the water with
Jameson Jr.
and Nehemiah.
Mary, your wife.
Yep.
You have how many children altogether?
We have 5 now, but at the time we had 4.
You had 4. They're all in the boat with Mary as well.
2 of them are in the boat.
2 in the boat.
And 2 are in the water with me.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens?
So he's following the turtle, and I'm trying to kind of keep Nehemiah preoccupied. So I point out a queen conch on the ocean floor. Now we're looking around all the time because you know that sharks are an important part of the marine ecosystem. And in fact, we had talked about hopefully we're going to see some sharks because they're not interested in us. And like I said, I saw my first shark at that same reef. And it's a pretty awesome experience. And if you know to just be calm and face the shark,
sure,
they hate eye contact, so they just kind of peel away. But we're doing 360s, looking all around, and we're seeing nothing but, beautiful marine life minus sharks. So I dive down to find this queen conch and to keep Nehemiah preoccupied. And as I surface, that's when I hear the screaming. Yeah, and no idea that he's just been attacked by a 9-foot, 400+ pound, massive bull shark, apex predator, sitting off on the edge of visibility, watching us. And as soon as we turned our back, again, we don't see it, but as soon as we turn our back to it to do all the exploring we were doing, it rushes in and attacks him. So I surface, hear the screaming. Don't think sharks. We don't see shark. And I'd already been stung by some small jellyfish. I'm thinking maybe he got a really bad Portuguese man of war sting. I don't know. So I quickly think I've got to take Nehemiah to the boat because he's just going to drift off to the Bahamas if I don't get him to the boat. Jameson's just off to the side of the boat. We're at the boat now, so let me just crank the engine, bring it to him. He's sitting on a pool noodle. And as we approach, it's like, Rob, he's sitting more buoyant out of the water than that pool noodle should be able to keep his little 70-pound body. And Mary and I look back later, once we get to the hospital and all the miracles later, it looked like literally the hand of God was holding him up out of the water, away from this shark to not be able to continue to attack him. And so the shark, we never saw the shark until we recovered the GoPro footage that actually captures the shark attack on it. So he's sitting on the pool noodle, leg below the knee is essentially gone. I mean, we've seen some other pictures of people who've been attacked by bull sharks even bigger, and they don't even look as bad as his. I mean, his leg was stripped clean of all flesh from below the knee down to the foot. And even the outer bone, the fibula, the smaller bone, was gone. Tibia had teeth marks, shark teeth marks all over it.
So how do you get Jameson? I mean, you're worried about Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Don't fully understand what's happening with Jameson Jr. right now. I mean, we're talking about matter of seconds.
Every second counts.
How does he eventually get into the boat and get to the hospital?
So as we approach him in the boat, I say to Mary, now we're getting into really shallow water up against the reef, and the wind and the current are kind of pushing. And so I say, honey, jump off the back of the dive platform, grab him, bring him to me, and then I can leave the captain's chair to bring him in. So once she does that and hands him to me, and I lift him out of the water, we see for the first time that he has just been mauled by a massive, apex predator. And again, never saw the shark. And so we're going for the first time in shock, in horror of what's just happened. And I'm holding him in my arms, screaming no in denial, being 9 miles offshore, thinking any second he's going to take his last breath because he's actively bleeding to death. And I look in his big blue eyes and scream no. And he says, Daddy, it's okay. Jesus is going to save me.
Wow.
First words out of his mouth.
Wow. Jameson Jr., I want to turn to you. I've got this card. I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but it's a picture of you and your amazing family. It's a picture of the book Rescue at the Reef, written by your father. And I love the tagline at the top of the card, the miraculous true story of a little boy with big faith, because this story is way more than just a rescue, as we said in the introduction. This is a story of, in the midst of the rescue, you in that moment of trial in the valley of the shadow of death, depending on your faith in Jesus Christ like never before. What do you remember from that day, from that moment of the attack? What do you recall?
Nothing really was going through my head besides what is attacking me, and then it started to shake me, and then it jerked my head back, and that's when I knew that it was a 10-foot bull shark, and so I jerked my head back into place and then started screaming for help.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And so talk about the comment that your father just shared, because I remember hearing that story very early on. I don't know if it was the night of or the next day, but what's going through your mind that allows you to say that to those that are operating on you and taking care of you?
So once my dad gets me onto the boat, I hear him say this big no, and then I just say, Daddy, it's okay. Jesus is going to save me. And all I was trying to do at that time was just to comfort my dad.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And then you made the comment that, and I don't know if this was on the boat, at the reef, at the moment of the attack, or in the hospital, but you said that God appeared to you as a person on fire. When did that happen? And describe what you mean by that.
So once we started driving to other boats, because it took us 40 to 45 minutes to get out to the reef. Once we started
on our boat,
it
took us one way. That's how far out it was. About 40 minutes out, and so we're not thinking let's go 9 miles in. We don't have 40 minutes.
Yeah,
we're just thinking there's boats right there. Let's get to the closest boat. The first boat we get to happens to be as we look back through our pictures, the fastest boat on the reef that day. Wow. And I want him to share about the Man on Fire in 1 second. Let me just kind of set that up. So we, grown up at Westminster, our faith, and Jameson for four years at Westminster, we just know that it's real. Investing in the next generation, not just, a sermon or two or a Sunday school situation or two, but faith being a daily rhythm of life for the family.
Yep.
It is just amazing to me that he can call upon the name of the Lord in that moment. Daddy, it's okay. Jesus is going to save me. Call on the name of the Lord and be saved, and want to comfort as a 10-year-old your 40-year-old father who's in shock and now basically, melting away under the reality that my son is about to die. So it's like when he said that, the hope of heaven broke in, man. I go out of shock. I come back to reality, lay him on the back of the boat, help Mary get on the boat. I just felt like we got to go over the top of the reef to these other boats instead of around the reef. It's a long, narrow reef. And that's the next miracle. The boat doesn't, get beached on the reef. We found a little narrow passage through it. And at that point, now everybody's eyes are on us because we inadvertently sounded an alarm that moment by going over the reef. And now people are starting to call 911 thinking our boat's about to sink, not even knowing there's a shark attack.
Yeah.
But as we, barely make it through that and get to this fast boat, we're explaining and screaming about what's happening. Another boat next to us also hears, or next to them hears. And this faster boat, of course, these are all strangers that God just has perfectly positioned on the reef that day. As they're on the phone with 911 and we're explaining what's happening, the dispatch is saying, we're going to send Coast Guard, FWC. We're like, we can't sit here and wait. We're sitting duck with this guy about to die any moment. So we got to at least meet him halfway or whatever. Where will there be an ambulance if we can get in? And they told us this marina. It's a private marina that I didn't know where it was. Yeah. I asked the other captain, do you know where this is? And he says, I know right where it is. I said, you've got the faster boat. You've got to run him in and save his life. While I'm saying that, somebody topples onto our boat. I said, who are you? And she's acting quickly and fastly. She goes, I'm a nurse and I'm here to help. She's getting on the boat with this dry bag of like a medical marine first aid kit, which couldn't do anything, essentially. There was no level 1 trauma center even in the Keys that could do anything. Sure. Which is why we eventually have to get airlifted to Miami. But she's going to work just telling us the Lord is with us, man. Right? And I'm telling this other captain, run him in, save his life. I kiss him on the forehead. And I don't want to let him go, Rob, because I think it's the last time I'm going to see him alive. Sure. But I felt the Lord say, deep in my spirit, I'll hold him until you get here. Yeah. And I knew eternally that was true because he had prayed at the age of 6 on our bed to receive the Lord right here in Fort Lauderdale. But I also hoped it meant that as I let him go, the Lord would manifest his presence to Jameson and Mary and this nurse. And that's exactly what happened. The Lord held him until this earthly father could get there.
That's amazing. So the person on fire, describe what you meant by that.
So on the way back to shore, my mom kept tapping me on the head because I kept closing my eyes and I kept almost falling asleep and then essentially dying. And so I kept telling myself I gotta keep myself awake or do something so I don't die. And so after that, it appears to me a man on fire just right above me. But then it cleared up to be Jesus. And he didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. We just looked at each other and he just gave me peace and the confidence to sing Here I Am to Worship, a song that I just recently have learned on the piano. And I just sang that on the way to shore and that kept me awake. That's amazing.
You also said that day was the best day and the worst day of your life. I think a lot of Christians can understand that. I think a lot of people maybe that aren't a Christian, that they haven't accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, might not and don't really understand the plan of God in their life, might have a hard time wrapping their mind around that comment. What do you mean by that? How can it be the best and the worst day at the same time?
So worst day because of the attack, but then because the best day because I saw the Lord, and once you see the Lord, it changes everything.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. The doctor, fast forward to the hospital, as you said, nothing available in the Keys to deal with a trauma like this. You get to Miami. The doctor, I don't know if they tell you or Mary or both of you.
My dad is at the house right now.
Dad's at the house.
At the Keys house, driving my siblings back to the house and then packing everything up. And then getting to...
I remember talking to you that night.
You're one of the first guys that called, brother. Yeah. And that was incredible to be able to just have your encouragement, support as, again, just our relationship and our friendship has has been what you beautifully described it to be. And it was so true in that moment to have you just coordinating, even up here on the mainland. Hey, let me reach out to some other doctors and let's do what we can to help. And so, so he gets airlifted to Miami, no level 1 trauma center. So Mary and I, as we write the book, we're separated at this point. And we're separated for a long period of time. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a call from her any second that says, honey, he's gone. Wow. And he sees the Lord. He starts comforting everybody because he's singing and
because at that time
feeling
I
like
knew that I was gonna
he's gonna live.
Survive. Yeah.
And now Mary's feeling that confidence, and I'm out still on the reef trying to get back inshore
with so many unknowns.
My other 3 kids are they've witnessed this happen. They're bawling, and I'm trying to sort it all out. So then he gets airlifted, and this team of incredible doctors rush him in to Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami, immediately begin to perform life-saving surgery, which then is going to need to require a complete amputation since he's still got the tibia bone. And of course, we're just thinking, keep him alive. And then once I know he's alive, then I'm thinking, can we save the leg? And because I'm telling you, Rob, it was just unbelievable to see what I saw, man.
Yeah.
And you can't unsee that stuff.
Sure.
And we include pictures in the book, and we blur that particular picture out.
I still haven't seen that picture yet.
Yeah, sure. It's not something Mama
is ready for
is ready for him to see.
Yeah, understandable.
It's my leg.
Tell your dad. Eventually, I want to see what it looked like.
That's right.
But the doctor eventually tells you and Mary that there's no way Jameson Jr. should have survived.
That's right.
What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it like receiving that message, knowing that against all odds, he's still alive, but understanding the gravity of the moment and that there's no earthly explanation for your son's survival? What's going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, it's so true. No earthly explanation. Doctors are saying things like, we don't have a medical explanation for this other than the miraculous. And when doctors,
did they use that word?
They did. They used that word multiple times and multiple doctors.
Amazing.
We saw teams and teams of doctors and nurses for 3 weeks in the hospital, 4 surgeries.
I mean, what's profound about that statement, for something to be miraculous means it needs to be supernatural. So here you have medical professionals that are basing their profession and their expertise purely on science and reason, on the natural. But even then in that moment, they're going, it has to be something beyond nature, what we would call the supernatural. So that's awesome. Okay, keep going.
That's it, man. Yeah. No, and it's kind of blowing me away as I'm listening to these doctors, who some of them began to realize we're not believers as we get to know them, and so that's the language they chose to use. And so we're looking at all this, Rob, and going, every day we're learning new information about this, brand new medical condition to us, amputation and having to continue to go back in for surgeries while we were there. And every time we interact with the doctors and they interact with this guy, they come to us and they say things like, I'm so encouraged by your son. And we say, great, what do you mean? And they say things like, we treat children all day, every day. And there are hardly any children who don't just encourage us by their case, but by their actual testimony, what they say to us, how they think us, how they are themselves comforting us as doctors, going, I know this is going to hurt, but I have to do it. And Jameson's saying, it's okay. Can we pray before we do this? And I want you to know that it's okay. Go ahead and do what you have to do. And they were just blown away by his level of maturity. And at 10 years old, we were blown away by that as his parents. And so every doctor continued to shock us with their kind of wild imagination about how this goes beyond the natural, as you said, into this supernatural realm that they kept, in their own terms, bringing up.
So, Rescue at the Reef, the story of your faith in God. God obviously has rescued you and saved you for a purpose. What do you think? I'd love to hear from just your perspective. What do you believe your purpose is in life, particularly after going through this trauma?
So usually whenever I'm going through a tough time, like after the shark attack with my leg, I have to keep reminding myself that the Lord has saved me for a reason, and I believe that that reason is to bring more people to the Lord than I have before. Because before the shark attack, I wanted to be talking about Jesus to all my friends, and they didn't want to hear about Jesus, and so my mom and dad kind of taught me that. But then after the shark attack, my mom said, you can tell everyone about Jesus because everyone is going to want to know who is the God that saved you. And so I believe that I am on this earth to bring lots of people to the Lord.
As I said in the introduction, this story goes beyond just people inside the church, because every single human being, whether they believe in God or not, whether they have a personal relationship with Jesus or not, the one thing we all have in common is we've all gone through trauma. We've all gone through some type of trial. So your testimony is reaching and has the potential to reach well beyond the four walls of a church, well beyond those that are just coming to church on the weekend. You have the opportunity and now the platform to steward, along with your family, this incredible story. You're rescued, you survived the trauma. What is your current physical condition? You had to get a prosthetic, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. What was that process like?
So once I never knew what a prosthetic was. I have seen rarely people that had metal feet, and so that's what I would call it then. But then once this prosthetist, the guy that made my prosthetic, he said that I'm going to make you a prosthetic that you'll be able to jump and do all the stuff that you used to do and maybe even more because of all these cool things that I have on it. So once I got it, I thought that I'd be up and running right away, but it was harder than I thought. It took a lot of time to get used to the prosthetic and to get back to doing the things that I was gonna do before the shark attack. But after a while, I got back up and doing it, and I still could do stuff without my leg. I could still rock climb and do all the that kind of stuff. And so it was hard at first, but then after a couple months, I got back up and running.
That's amazing. How, as a family, I mean, speak on behalf of your entire family, but also individually. Jameson, you mentioned it before. You grew up in the church. Mm-hmm. Your dad was a pastor. You went to Christian school. You were raised up with what we call a biblical worldview. But I know for myself as a pastor, a seminary trained pastor that has gone through his own personal trauma, all of the theology and training and upbringing in the world. It's one thing in theory to have all these beliefs in God, but then when you go through that dark night of the soul, it's all of those things really bring you to a crisis of faith. Do I really believe all these truths? Do I really believe all these things that I've been taught my whole life? Individually and as a family collectively, how has your faith grown? What are things that you believed in theory, you believed technically, but maybe you didn't really believe functionally? How has your family grown in their faith in light of this rescue and in light of the trauma? I'll
tell you, man, when we watched you and Jen go through everything with Sweet Lily, we sat right out here in the memorial service. Yeah. And Mary and I, as we clutched each other's hands at that time, watching you and Jen stand up there and just share your heart and your hope. Yeah. In the reality that not only is she with the Lord, but we sense that through this trial, God is doing something. And I don't remember if this was exactly quoted. We've been sharing this verse, Romans 8:28. I'm sure you did that day. For we know this, that God works all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And so we knew in that time, and as you guys modeled so beautifully, man, and our friendship with you brought us even back to a conversation in the hospital bed as you and Jen spoke to us and spoke to Jameson and so encouraged us. Mary and I just knew that as that verse was becoming true for us, that we had to trust the process and not just trust what we knew and believed, but trust the one who was with us in that moment. And so it's not just about, feeling pain, but recognizing that in your pain, when you look up, and that's what the Lord did. He brought me to Psalm 121. I was looking down and in. I was focused on the pain. And he said, this is not what's happened to you, but this is what I want to do through you. This moment you're in is not pause this mission you are on. Yeah. You have to be stewards of this story. I'm doing something here. You got to trust me, and I'm with you in the pain, and this pain will eventually have purpose. And that's what brought me to Psalm 121. In fact, I remember a phone call with you, Rob, in this. We were sitting in a, somebody we still hadn't even met, gave us their condo right there in, not far from the hospital. Mm-hmm. Go rest, go take a shower. And so Mary never left his bedside, and I'd run over there every once in a while to just eat something and grab a few things. And I was having a quiet time and just trying to say, Lord, speak into this moment for me. This is so bewildering. He brought me to Psalm 121, and I was looking down and in, and he just said, I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? Yeah. My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And hurting people are searching for help. Yep. Right? They're desperately searching for help. And when we focus down and in, we lose the perspective that the Heavenly Father is trying to share with us. We don't fully understand it, but we trust the one who holds us through the storm. And as I began to lift my gaze from down and into up and out, man, it was profound what he did. Yeah. And that shift, I would just encourage anybody through a deep and dark time, if you lift your eyes off the pain to the one who gives the promise that I'm with you, then your focus will change, your gaze will change.
Yeah, that's so good. I remember at that memorial service for my daughter, I remember Bob Barnes, who was officiating, and it'll never leave me. He said, today is not a day for why. Why did this happen? Why did God take Lily? Today is a day for who? Come on. Who can rescue me? Yeah. And I think that what you just said is so beautiful. Who is the one in our moment of trial in the valley who has the ability to comfort our souls? Jameson Jr., your dad has provided, your dad and your mom and your entire family, because I know this has been a sacrifice for all of them to document this story and to capture it, but it has provided you such an incredible gift and giving you an incredible platform. What do you hope as people are purchasing and rescuing and reading the book Rescue at the Reef, what are you hoping people take away from the story and the book?
I hope that people will find hope and healing out of our book and the encouragement to face all their fears.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how can people get this book, Rescue at the Reef? Where can it be purchased?
Yeah,
where can they find it?
Anywhere books are sold, really.
Anywhere books are sold. We have a book website, rescueatthereef.com. Okay. And then if you kind of want to just follow his journey, in addition to buying the book, bravelikejameson.com is something my brother through the hospital came up with that phrase, brave like Jameson, because we didn't touch on it yet, but 4 days after the shark attack, he called me, and I was running to like a CVS to pick up a toothbrush. It was like 9 o'clock at night. He's in the hospital bed, hiding under the sheets.
Which we'll tell you in just a sec.
Yeah.
And he's whispering. He calls me from my dad's phone. And I said, Dad, what's going on? Everything okay? And it was Jameson whispering. And I said, what's up, man? He goes, Dad, will you put a plan together for us to return to the reef? Wow. And I said, one day we'll go back. Wow, why? And what'd you say?
I said, no, not one day, Dad. Right after once the doctors clear me so I can go back into the reef. Wow. And I said I did not want the hospital or the shark attack to be my greatest fear.
That's amazing. So you've been back to the reef.
Yes, sir. 10 weeks later.
What was that experience like?
So I've been looking for it. I've been looking forward to it for 10 weeks, and then right before I jump in, I feel the sense of fear. My dad said, well, we don't have to jump in. And I said, no, Dad, I want to jump in. I want to face my fear. And so I jump in, and it was like a whole flashback of the whole shark attack just for like 2 seconds. And then just because of the environment of the reef. And then once I pop up, I just have a wonderful time with my friends and family. And then once it was time to leave, my parents actually had to pull me out of the water because I didn't want to get out.
That is so cool, man. That is so cool. And I'm so glad you brought that up because, as we've been saying often, this is more than a book. This is a gospel tool, and it's turned into opportunities to go on television, social media, speaking around the country, and more than just a book. It's turned into a movement. Brave like Jameson. Jameson, you got a key around your neck. Explain the key around your neck, and how does that all thing? You got one Jameson Jr. as well. How does that tie into the larger story?
So 1 year, the 1 year anniversary, we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary. As we're on the book tour here, we're going to be going back to the Keys for the 3-year anniversary to do a bunch of events down there, speak and everything. But we're going to go back to the Reef. And we've made it a regular routine, not just on the anniversary, but as often as we can to return to the Reef. Obviously, rescue at the Reef is a big piece of the story, but returning to the Reef is the ongoing piece. It's the regular reality that if we don't face our fear and find the freedom that God promises, then we're living under the prince of the air. We're literally bowing the knee, by living in fear. Jesus says more than anything, do not be afraid. And so I wanted to give my other kids, everybody. Jameson has a very physical reality of the shark attack. His leg's gone. He's got a prosthetic, puts it on every day without complaining, even though it's painful, and he'll continue to have surgeries as he grows. He's had 6 surgeries, 2 since the attack, or 2 since the initial 4. He'll have to continue to have them. So he's got that daily reminder.
You make it sound like that is a bad thing. Like I don't enjoy it. I love the hospital. Surprisingly, I love the doctors and everything that's in it. I know my mom won't be happy with me saying this, but I actually like it more than Disney.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's become your ministry.
Yeah.
It has, man.
That's awesome.
It's so sweet to see that spirit. So that's real and true. But my other kids, man, like they've just... we've all been.
How are they part of the
this
story? Yeah, they are part of the story. So this is an intentional way of making them a part of the story.
So I wanted to give them something physical, and this key, of course, it happened in the Florida Keys. But this key with a word on it. Everybody has a different word. I just gave it to him, and I just said, "Listen, as I commission you with this key, the Lord has already commissioned us. The phrase He uses more than any one phrase in all of the Gospels is, 'Do not be afraid.'" And so I want you to know when you find a locked door called fear in your life, when you name that fear and you face that fear, this key that Dad's given you today will always unlock that door. I want you to move forward by faith to claim the freedom that is yours in Christ. Don't be intimidated. Don't back down. Just like your big brother, face your fear and find your freedom.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So we got rescueatthereef.com.
Yes, sir.
Share the other website again for Brave Like Jameson.
BraveLikeJameson.com.
And I love that because, as we've often said, this is more than just a book. This is following your story. This is following your testimony. So rescueatthereef.com, BraveLikeJameson.com. I encourage people to go to those websites, purchase the book. But as we've said often, this is a gospel tool. This is not just a message for people inside the church, but people outside the church as well. And I just commend both of you.
Thank you, man.
I love you both dearly.
Love you so much.
And pray that God would just increase your opportunities because there's not one single person on the face of this earth that isn't experiencing some type of trauma, some type of heartache, some type of challenge and obstacle, and they need to hear not only the story, but to see the ongoing, unfolding testimony of how God is using this trauma ultimately for his glory, and ultimately for you to stand on that platform by his grace, to share what God continues to do, even in the midst of that dark night and that deep trauma. So love you both.
Love you too, man.
Thank you so much for being on the City of God today.
We're
Absolutely.
glad to be here.
Loved it.
The City of God podcast is produced by Coral Ridge Ministries and made in partnership with the Institute for Faith and Culture. Visit us at cityofgodpodcast.com to access all of our previous episodes. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or anywhere you get podcasts. A full video version of this podcast is available on YouTube. This is the City of God podcast, where Christ meets culture.